About a year ago, I received a Facebook message from a man named Zachary. I didn't think I knew who he was until I did a double take, and I realized that Zachary was a classmate of mine in high school 25 years ago. The high school that I went to was in upstate New York. It was a small private high school, not Jewish. I was one of 5 Jews and about 60 kids. And I didn't live a publicly Jewish life because I just blended in. Now, we did Jewish things. I wasn't on the meal plan because I was kosher. I wouldn't come to school on Jewish holidays. I wouldn't play sports or concerts on Friday nights. So we were Jewish. And this was 2 decades ago. And so when I received this message from Zachary, I was a bit confused. Because even in high school, we were not in the same social circles. We haven't spoken in 2 decades. We didn't keep in touch after graduation. And we live on opposite coasts of the country. The message said this. He said, "Hey, Erez, it's been a while. Can we set up a Zoom? I want to share my journey with you." And so a few days later, we had a Zoom, and he told me these 2 things. He said when he was 9 years old, this is before I knew him, his older brother was studying in Germany, and his father decided to take his family to Dachau, the German concentration camp. And it was there, he said, that he realized that even in the darkest places in the world, you can find God, and people can choose good over evil. And as he was leaving Dachau as a 9-year-old, he went to the gift shop, and he was religious, he was not Jewish, and he wanted to buy a Magen David on the way home, a Jewish star. But his parents were sort of nervous and said, no, not now. And then he said a few years later when he came to high school where we interacted, he said he watched from afar my family's Jewish observances, and he said he was inspired that somebody was so outwardly, openly proud of their heritage to not keep it to themselves. And so fast forward a few months after that Zoom call, hearing about Zach's journey, he called me again and he said, I'm actually becoming Jewish. And he said it wasn't the Judaism, but it was the journey to Judaism that has led to his inner peace. Fast forward to last week. Zach likes baseball. And so he called me and he said, I want to go to Dodger Stadium. And so we sat together after 25 years, literally the last row of Dodger Stadium. It was a good game, but I didn't care. Because interacting with this, I thought, young man, but now we're older adults, and I found out that today he is the class ambassador for my high school reunion this coming June, 25 years. And for 3 hours, we started going through not just our journeys, but all the journeys of the people that I didn't remember until just last week, faces and names and where they've been and what they're doing. And Zach's journey today, listen to this, Merzad. He's on the board of a synagogue in Massachusetts. He leads monthly Torah study. And today, he's tuning into Sinai Temple live stream. I know this story sounds a bit mundane based on the events of what are happening in this world. But I want to share that story with you because it's important to not get too big in the world. But as we learned with Michaela, the world was made for us, but also we have to figure out where we are in this world. And so yes, I could stand here and report the news just like you can get on the internet. We can talk about, and it's important, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh in Iran and Fuad Shukr with Hamas and Hezbollah in Iran and Beirut. I can give you a personal analysis of the release of Paul Whelan and Evan Gershkovich and also Kormasheva in Russia, but you can do that yourself. I, of course, can talk about the horrific attacks last Saturday of Mazdal Jam's 12 Bedouin children who were just playing in a soccer game in the northern of Israel. Each day brings us an emotional roller coaster that it's hard to comprehend. And by the time I'm done speaking to you, there's probably something that we don't even know about that we'll find out when we go home. But to talk about personal journeys gives us a context into where we fit into this larger world. You see, as we got to the second portion of today, Maseh, journeys, we read the famous travelogue of where the Israelites went from place to place in the wilderness. And throughout that journey, we know where they want to go. It's to the promised land. And for the last few weeks, we've heard it's an Eretz Zavad Chalav Udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. And then we get there. And God tells Moses to tell the people that when you get to the land, he uses these two words, Zot ha'aretz. This is it. It may not be what you expected, but this is the land for you. That's the journey for you. Let's figure out what we're going to do with it. The 20th century scholar Pinchas Paley, who was born in Jerusalem, he once visited the United States and he went to a Jewish day school, and the kids were so excited and the teacher to use their Hebrew. The teacher told the students, Ha'ish hazeh hu oreach me'eretz Yisrael. This man is a guest from the land of Israel. And he said, Hu chelek me'chalutzim. He's part of the pioneers. And he was very proud to be introduced like that. And then the teacher asked the students, Ma osim hachalutzim bayom. What do the pioneers of Israel do in the daytime? And all the children said, Ovdim. They work. And then the teacher turned to the student and said, Ma osim hachalutzim balayla. What do the pioneers do at night? And the children proudly looked at Pinchas Paley and they said, Rokdim hahora. They danced the hora. Pinchas Paley was stunned at that answer because he saw that this view of Jews in the land of Israel was idealistic, and they had no grasp of the reality of his own lived experience. He was shocked in two ways by this answer. First, that people could see one place in the world as a paradise on earth, and another people could see it as the most awful place on earth. Pinchas Paley says that is our sin today. The Torah tells us, Zot ha'aretz, this is the land, this is the journey that you have. And therefore, you cannot only look at the bright side. You cannot only look at the dark side, but love it all and see it all. A couple of verses later, Nachmanides, the medieval commentator, looks at the words and it says, Lo tachnifu et ha'aretz. The Torah tells us, do not defile the land. But that word defile, tachnifu, Nachmanides said, can also be translated another way. And it can mean do not flatter the land. In essence, we have to stay in the middle. We have to look at our reality and see what we have been given. The parsha begins using two different words, masehem umoatsehem. The journeys that the people go forward, umoatsehem, the journeys that they came from. And in two different sentences, the words are reversed. And the rabbis ask, well, it seems strange, perhaps the Israelites are backtracking, that they're taking one step forward and two steps back. They'll never get to where they need to go. The beautiful commentary by Rabbi Ziegler Suchard says, no, that's not correct. You see, when the Torah switches those two words, their journeys forward and their journeys going backward, it actually comes to teach us that when they go on their journeys, they take with them what they came from. Two examples. When the Jews left the crossing of the sea, it wasn't only behind them, but they brought with them the witnessing of the miracles that God brought them in their history of the Exodus. When the Israelites left Mount Sinai to continue into the wilderness, it wasn't that they just left Mount Sinai, but they brought the experience of Sinai to where they would go next. The same with our experiences. It is not that we leave one point A and go to point B, but rather we take our journeys with us. Every one of us has faced some type of challenge in our lives. But listen to those words. Zot ha'aretz. That's the land that we were given. This is the journey that we're on. Ask Maziar Bahari how his journey, your journey in the Evin prison, somehow transformed your life to partnering with the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in order to then bring education to the next generation of Iranians. Ask not today, but tomorrow and the years ahead, how Evan Gershkovitz and Paul Whelan, how their time in Russian prison will transform their lives going forward. Ask the hostages that were released or the hostages that still remain in Gaza. How were their journeys, ma'asehem u'moatsehem, where they came from and where they will go, lead to tomorrow. As conservative Jews, we don't usually define ourselves as who we are, but we define ourselves as who we are not. We're not Reform and we're not Orthodox. Then what are we? Zot haaretz. We are the journey that we are on. This week, after going to the Dodger game with my new old friend, Zachary, I pulled out my high school yearbook. And I wanted to know when we were seniors in high school what we wrote as we were going to journey into the future. Maybe some of those dreams came true. I didn't think I'd be standing here in front of you. Some of my classmates from back then have faced difficult challenges, and others have achieved the greatest successes that they never knew. But it brought me back to those two words that God tells Moses to tell the Israelites. Zot haaretz. This is the journey that we're on. We will face unexpected circumstances. It will be easy to give up and to pollute the land. And other times it will be easy to flatter the journey and ignore the difficulties and pretend that they do not exist. But if we take that example of our ancestors, Zot haaretz, they yearned for a place to call home, who were stuck in the wilderness. And we recognize that every single step of our journey has something to offer us. And when we bring that with us, we will find that next destination tomorrow that we do not even know exists today. Shabbat shalom.